welcome to the No Grow Scale podcast. I'm Laura Johns, founder and CEO of the Business Growers, joined by Lyn Askin, certified EOS implementer, who is going to help kickstart. I'm going to call this part one because this is a podcast. We do have Lynn coming up on a webinar soon. So if this piques your interest, then you're definitely going to want to continue to listen and learn from Lynn in a webinar in October. So Lynn, thank you so much for being on the No Grow Scale podcast. As you know, we're going to be talking to managed services providers and IT companies today. If you will, tell us a little bit about yourself, introduce yourself, and tell us what we need to know about you before we dig in.
Thanks, Laura. This is going to be super fun. So I do want to tell you a little bit about me because I think there's part of this story that's important. I think that you relate to. And
Yeah.
so I've been an entrepreneur my whole life. I grew up in a house with a lot of love, but not a lot of money. And I think that made me entrepreneurial. I had a paper out when I was 8 or 9, had a mobile disc jockey company in my teens. I started building computers in my 20s. Actually built one of the first online auctions in 1995. Built my first e-commerce store in 96 or 97. And then my bookkeeper, which one of my first hires, like, hey, I've got another client, needs a website. And, I helped him out, and I built a website for a company called High Life Nutrition out in Las Vegas. And that became Chef Jay. And so, I had a pretty early start in internet marketing and agencies, and ran a pretty decent agency for 20 plus years, 25, 26 years. But in 2020, I actually got like the wake up call of all wake up calls. I suffered a massive bilateral pulmonary embolism, which means, my lungs filled with blood clots due to a blood clot in my leg, and I nearly died. And so as I was laying there dying, Laura, all I could think about was, what kind of mess did I just leave my wife and son? You know, it's weird. You think when you die, your life flashes before your eyes, but all I could think about was like, man, I should have done more. I should have been better. I should have had a better business, because my wife is going to have to go to my office. She's going to have to lock the door, fire the team, lose all the clients, because I didn't have a business. I had a job. I had a, it wasn't very well structured. The business relied 100% on me. And I don't know if you know this, but if your business relies 100% on you and it can't run without you, you don't have a real business.
Right.
And so I went on a mission, Laura, to fix that. Obviously, thank God I survived, and I'm here, and I'm still working on why. I haven't quite figured that out yet, but
Well, I hope you find out at some point, but sometimes we never know, right? It's
for sure
a lot bigger than us at times.
For sure. But I went on a mission to solve that problem in my business. I knew I had to do better. I knew I had to build something that I could leave to my family. I always thought that I sort of was a lifestyle business for me. I figured, well, I don't have a lot of retirement money and I don't have that, but I guess I'll just work until I die. I just didn't realize that could have been when I was 50 years old.
Right.
And so I found, I looked at a bunch of different operating systems and ways to structure my business and how to scale. And I got into ClickUp and a bunch of things, but I found the Entrepreneurial Operating System. And I had bought the book Traction in 2014, and I read it, and I'm like, oh, that's great. I sure wish I could pull that off, but I closed the book, put it on the shelf with the rest. But I pulled it back out in early of 2021 and started reading it again. And I'm like, man, this is exactly what we need. And I tried to self-implement, and that was a bit of a struggle. And of course, we made a little bit of progress. But then I hired a professional implementer. And I hired a professional EOS implementer, and he came in, and man, what a transformation I made in my business. We, over the next year and a half or so, we 3x'd our profits. Or I'm sorry, we 3x'd our revenue. We 7x'd our profits. We grew from 10 employees to 27. And more importantly, Laura, I was able to sort of take myself out of the day-to-day operations of my business, built something that could run without me, eventually leading to a successful sale of my agency. And I gotta be honest, I love that process so much. And I love what it did for me and for my family, that I wanted to help other people do the same thing that I did. We all start our businesses because we think we're going to get this freedom and this time and this, whether it's financial freedom or time freedom, or we're going to have our weekends off. We're going to be able to work half a day. And man, the truth is, it's not like that at all.
No,
And
I can guarantee you the audience listening is laughing as you're saying that, because
oh,
that's not, especially in this line of business, that's not reality
for
all the
sure,
time.
but that's what you think. That's what you think when you're like, oh, I'm gonna have
Right.
my own business one day, and I'm gonna, and then it's not like that. But I'm here to tell you, it can be like that. It
Mm-hmm.
can be
Mm-hmm.
like that. And what you need, I firmly believe that every company needs three things. I believe they need a peer group. I believe they need a coach, and I believe they need an operating system.
Mm-hmm.
EOS is that operating system.
I love it. Well, I think there's no better person, obviously, to talk about it. You didn't just, you're not just drinking the Kool-Aid. You made the Kool-Aid. You poured the sugar in. You poured the mix in. So I love that. I think that, I always have said I want to take a workout class from someone who looks like I want to look. Right? You always want
Easy,
to be
easy, easy.
you always want to be learning from someone who has experienced it and been through it. So I think that certainly makes you qualified to talk about this today. So really excited about this. So okay, for those listening who have not read the book Traction, for those listening who have absolutely no idea what EOS is, can you just tell us about it and then why an IT company or managed services provider should care?
Sure. So EOS is the Entrepreneurial Operating System. I just want to make it clear that everything that I'm going to tell you today was invented by Gino Wickman. Gino wrote the book Traction. Gino was one of the first members of the Detroit EO chapter, and he kind of worked with members of that business, kind of I guess he just sort of figured out that he had sort of a knack for the art and science of building a great business. And he saw a difference between like the really successful companies and the not so successful companies. He tried to figure out what that was. And the truth is, when we start our businesses, and you know we reach various versions of success, but we do that through either guesswork
Right.
or hard work or framework. And so EOS is a framework on how to get more from your business. And so I guess we'd like to say that I help entrepreneurs and leadership teams get better at three things. I help them get better at vision, traction, and healthy. And what I mean by vision is, let's make sure that you and your leadership team and the entire company is all on the same page with where we're going and how we're going to get there. By traction, I mean instilling discipline and accountability so that no matter where you look in your company, you see people actually executing on that vision. And then healthy, I just mean like, let's make you guys a more cohesive, fun loving, functional team that likes to work together. Because let's be
Yeah.
honest, sometimes we're not. And
Right.
so,
Right.
yeah, so most of us are kind of dealing with like 136 simultaneous issues. We're all built the same. I mean,
Right.
that's when we thrive. Like I getting goosebumps. Like that's when we're at doing our best work. Like things are just happening, and some of our worst days are those days we're sitting around going, "Hey, what's going on today? There's nothing going on. It's quiet,
Right.
right?" But we
Right.
find that to the extent that you can strengthen just six key areas of your business, or six key components of your business, those 136 simultaneous issues kind of fall into place because they're really just symptoms of a real
Mm,
root cause. And so
mm.
we work to strengthen your vision component, your people component, your data component, your issues component, your process component, and of course your traction component. So EOS is a framework on how to run your business. It'll fundamentally change the way you guys operate. It'll make you better at just about everything.
Are you able to share? I mean, that sounds amazing, but I'm also like, on behalf of every IT owner, business owner out there, I mean, are you able to share any of the secret sauce here, or like the fundamentals of what really make, I hear you when you give, you say these different pieces, but like, what does it mean? What does it look like in the day-to-day life of an owner of a managed services provider IT business? How might it change the way his day looks? Can you
Yeah,
share some of
absolutely.
that?
So let's kind of break this down a little bit. Let's start with your vision component. Obviously, if I'm going to try and help you get from point A to point B as efficiently as possible, we have to know what point B looks like. And so,
Right, right.
we don't do like
Start there. Start there.
yeah,
What do
let's
you want
start
out of the
there.
business? Yeah.
Yeah. So we don't build like a 40-page strategic plan or anything. We have a 2-page document that has 8 questions on it, and we're going to get 100% on the same page with the answers to those 8 questions.
Mm,
Those questions are: what are your core values? What is your core target? What is your core focus? What is your marketing strategy? What is your 3-year picture? What is your 1-year plan? What are your rocks or your biggest priorities for the next quarter? And then what are your issues? Kind of what's holding us back, what's slowing us down, what's ticking us off, what's preventing us from achieving that. And so we build your vision together, and then we make sure we get the right people in the right seats. And so we move over to the people component. Now, we also got to make sure, back to vision, we got to make sure that vision is being shared by all. It's not just your vision, Laura.
Right.
It's the team's
Right.
vision. We build it together. Then we move to the people component, and we talk about two things there. We got to get the right people in the right seats. Now, the right people are people who live your core values. These are people who just exemplify what you want in your company, the kind of people you want to be around, the kind of people you love, the kind of people that if you could clone them, if you had 100 of them, you could take over the world, right? We want to
Yeah,
make
I
sure
love
we're
that.
getting right people in the right seats. And then we're going to hire, we're going to fire, we're going to reward, we're going to review, and we're going to recognize people using those core values. Okay. Now, on top of that, we got to get them in the right seats. And this means we got to get people that are good at their jobs. These are people with God-given talent and skills and the mind for it and the heart for it and the stomach for it. And we got to make sure that those align. Okay. Once we get your vision component in place and we get the right people in the right seats, then we're going to work on your data component. And data component is really just about running your business on real facts and figures and numbers, and not like emotions and
Not your
subjective.
gut.
Right. We're
Not your
gonna run our
gut.
business on
Sometimes,
real.
sometimes the gut and the mind come in handy, but data is certainly a lot better, more realistic way to evaluate things.
And so we're going to build a great dashboard that gives you a pulse on your business. You're going to be able to look at your dashboard and know, hey, are we having a good week in sales or a bad week in sales?
Yeah.
Are we
Yeah.
having a good week in marketing or a bad week in marketing? Are we having a good week in operations or a bad week in operations? Are our customers happy or are they not happy? And so we're going to build a dashboard and give you guys numbers and metrics. And ultimately, we're gonna kind of cascade that down into the company, so everybody in the company has a number or metric or measurable that they're responsible for on a regular basis. They got to report weekly. So now we're able to kind of understand, are our teams doing the things that they're supposed to be doing?
Love that. Love that.
Now, when your vision component's strong and your people component's strong, and your data component's strong, your business becomes a little bit transparent, and we start to find the obstacles and the issues and the problems. Those things start to jump out
Which
at you.
can get really uncomfortable. So you're saying if you want to do EOS, you have to be ready to get uncomfortable. Is that what you're saying?
Look, the outside of your comfort zone is where the magic happens.
That's
You
right.
know,
That's
you
right.
want to sit in your comfort zone all day and do the same thing over and over and over. Yeah, don't
That's
do
right.
EOS. But
Right.
if you want to get better and you want to be more healthy,
Yeah.
you want to be smarter and healthier, than EOS
Yeah.
is. But
Yeah.
when those problems start to come out, now we've got to teach you guys how to be really, really good at solving issues as they arise. And so we have a couple of tools and disciplines that help you get really, really good at solving issues. Because we can't just wrap them up in duct tape and twine and shove them in a corner.
Right.
We got to
Right.
attack them. But when we attack the issue, we got to attack the real issue. We got to dig and we got to find the root cause. We can't just surface band-aid it, right?
Band-aid it. Yeah. Yeah.
If you do that, then you end up solving the same problems over and over and over, like the worst case of business deja vu ever.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's great. What I'm hearing, and I think after, having first of all been a chief marketing officer at a managed services provider, so kind of seeing the insides of how, for lack of a better word, I mean, it can be a bit chaotic at times. It can be, I mean, it is high pressure when you're serving a client in that type of capacity, as an IT provider. But I also empathize with those owners of these IT businesses. Let's just say they were kind of like you. They're really good at fixing things or designing things or doing things, computer guys, or ladies. And they started the business because they knew how to do something, and really that's what they love. But then all of a sudden now they're managing 30 people and they really just want to get back to what they love and can't. So even though it gets hard before it gets smooth, maybe, I don't know, that may not be, maybe it's a little bumpy before it's smooth. It just seems like this is ultimately, what it takes, kind of like getting healthy physically. You don't get to the finish line of a marathon by starting on day one. Like, it takes a little bit of work first. So it just seems like what I hear you saying is, this is the path to get to that freedom that you started the business for in the first place, right? Is that what you think, or you feel?
No, 100%. I think, like you said, I mean, we all start our businesses because we think it's going to be one way. And then, we love doing that one thing that we do. And to grow and to break through the ceiling. And then let's be perfectly clear. No business grows in a straight line. We're going
Right,
to hit the ceiling at some point. And when we hit the
right,
ceiling, we're either going to bust through that ceiling or we're going to flatline
right,
and fail.
right.
EOS gives you the tools and the disciplines how help you break through those ceilings as you hit them. And so when you realize that you have to sort of clone yourself, you know,
Mm-hmm.
most of us don't have the skills to do that. Most of us don't have the
Mm,
skills to manage people, give them the right, share the right vision with them, share the right expectations with them, and all of that. And so EOS really is about building a great leadership team so that
mm,
you, as the visionary, the founder, can focus on your true genius. You can do the
mm-hmm.
things that you were born to do. We can do the things that you love to do and that you're great at. And we're
Mm-hmm.
going to help you delegate everything else to somebody
Yeah.
else who's equally great at that thing.
Yeah, that's good. That's great. I think a lot of what I hear on the people component that you were just talking about, a lot of what I hear in this industry is just how difficult it is to find the right people, high turnover technicians or a tough hire. And then managing a lot of technicians also becomes, challenging. So I could really see how that people component and figuring out how to get the right people in the right seats could that alone, outside of everything else, that alone could be truly, truly valuable for. Okay, so because we're doing a part two, I would ask you a lot more questions if we weren't doing a webinar. So since we're doing a webinar, if someone is like, this sounds interesting, what would you say the one key takeaway from today as we lead into doing a full-blown, hour together? What could someone start doing right now? Maybe take a nugget from the book Traction or take a nugget from what you teach and lead companies through. What could someone start doing right now in the interim while they're waiting for the webinar?
So EOS is a toolbox of tools. There are 20
Yeah,
main tools in the EOS toolbox, and there's another 10 or 15 more, but there are 5 fundamental tools, the 5 foundational tools of EOS. And that is your vision traction organizer, and that's creating your vision. But honestly, the first thing that we do in EOS when we implement EOS is we build your accountability chart and we start putting the right people in the right seats. We map out the roles and responsibilities of every seat on your accountability chart.
yeah,
And so build an accountability chart, understand where you fit in that, especially as the owner. If you build out that accountability chart and you start putting your name in all the boxes, it's
yep.
eye-opening. And that's the way most companies work. Yes, I'm the visionary and I'm founder, but I'm also the head of sales, and I guess I'm the head of marketing, and I'm the head of finance. And now you're like, man, I that's not sustainable. I got to figure out a way to
Mm,
take myself out of these roles. So build an accountability chart, start putting the right people in the right seats, set your first set of rocks, like sit down and map out all the things you could be doing this quarter, and then prioritize the top 3 to 7 of those, and then
hmm
focus really hard on your top 3 to 7 goals or rocks for the quarter. I think you should build a scorecard. I think you should have a scorecard that kind of gives you a pulse on your business. And then I think you really need to adopt something called the level 10 meeting. Now, the level 10 meeting is it's a once a week meeting. There's a handful of rules for it. Starts on time, ends on time, same agenda, same time every week. We follow the same agenda and all of those things. But that level 10 meeting, I think, is the key to beginning to put EOS in place and have a really, really good meet. So Laura, when I ask people, I'm like, one of the first things I ask is, tell me about your meetings. Tell me about your internal meetings in your team. On a scale of 1 to 10, where would you rate your meetings? And almost
mm.
everyone says 4 or 5. And we all know those meetings. Those are the meetings where you get in the room, you go to solve something, and then you just discuss the heck out of it.
Nothing gets done.
And
Right. Yeah.
nothing gets done. You never get to like the root cause, and you never really walk out with a plan of attack. And so
Mm,
the level 10 meeting is the beginning of you solving issues as they arise and having the tools and disciplines to not only solve it, come up with the next steps, but make sure that it's done. So
hmm
those are kind of the foundational or fundamental tools that I want to talk about. And those are the kind of things that we put in place in our first EOS session. But
Awesome.
you want to learn more about EOS, well, I suggest you read the book Traction. I think that's really important.
Okay. I
That's the
think I see, I
fuel for
might see a
EOS.
copy of it maybe behind
Yeah,
you.
I
Do I see?
only have a couple
Yeah.
hundred copies here somewhere. Traction right there.
Okay.
The whole EOS library up there. So copy traction. If you're a visionary though, if you're not the like, let's get it done guy, and you're sort of like the big picture guy, honestly, I
Mm-hmm.
think you should listen to the audiobook of Get a Grip. And it's the
Mm.
story or the fable of EOS. And I think it'll resonate more. It did with me, and I'm of course a visionary.
Yeah.
I think that story really helped me understand EOS and the
Mm.
journey that you go on when you implement. So
Love
those are
it.
the kind of takeaways I think. Read
That's
those
perfect.
books. It's the manual for EOS. You can download all of the EOS tools for free. You can self-implement EOS. It's 100% doable. It is simple, but not easy.
Right. And probably especially difficult for that visionary to do it. I don't think I could do it alone. So I
Really
think
tough for a
that's,
visionary to pull that off.
yeah. Yeah. So, okay, awesome. You've given us a lot of things to think about. So tell me what, if someone were wanting to learn more about you, the EOS process, how could they find you specifically online? I know that you've probably got social media and whatnot. So where would they go to find you?
Yeah, I'm super easy to find. I think I'm the only Lyn Askin on the planet. So a quick Google search will land you either on my LinkedIn page or my own homepage, lynaskin.com. You can go there. You can go to lynaskin.com /linktree and get all my socials. But
Perfect.
I'm
Okay, awesome.
active on LinkedIn and Facebook and all of those social platforms. So you can
Awesome.
connect with me there, pick up the phone, call me.
Awesome.
Easy to find.
Awesome. Love it. Well, thank you so much for this. We'll call it a teaser, this teaser about EOS. I look forward to more on this in October. And if you're listening, thank you for listening to the No Grow Scale podcast. We look forward to digging in more on a future webinar with Lynn. And again, thank you so much for listening. If you are interested in learning more about all things marketing and generating new leads to scale and grow your managed services provider business, be sure to look us up at thebusinessgrowers.com. Thanks so much.
Thanks.